Hello, and today we're going to work on basic photo corrections. Just to get started, in this lesson you're going to prepare, it's actually a scanned-in photograph that's going to be placed in a fictitious magazine. The final image size for your print layout is actually going to be 3.5 by 2.5 inches. Okie doke. So let's go ahead and open the picture, but this time we'd like to open it in Camera Raw to adjust the color, because you're going to notice in a minute the photo is crooked, the colors are dull, it has a red color cast on it, and the dimensions are too large for the magazine, so you're going to fix all that. Go ahead and say File, Open As, and down at the bottom it should say Open As Camera Raw. If you need to click the down arrow to choose Camera Raw, please do so. Then select the JPEG of the girl and click Open. Notice that what opens is Camera Raw. Now at this time, what we're going to do is we are going to adjust the file, adjust the color of the file within Camera Raw, because you can tell the color is a little bit off. So we're going to remove the color cast. So what we need to do is go up to the top, and next to the hand tool, to the right of that is a little dropper. It says White Balance Tool. Click it. And now we're going to adjust the white balance of all the colors in the image. So we have to find something that's white. So let's try to find, like in the brick, a white spot. Click it, and you'll notice immediately the picture is adjusted. Go to the girl's tennis shoe, like the white on it, and select that, and again it will be adjusted. Let's go ahead and adjust some of the Camera Raw particular settings to fine-tune the tone. So this is called the Basics panel. See here? And let's say that we're going to take the temperature to like a negative 50, around 50, 53, 54. There we go. Okay, notice how your picture will continue to change. Now let's take and get the tint to about around that same point. Almost, okay. Now let's go ahead and keep the exposure at like 0.5. Okay, and watch what it does to your picture. For the recovery, we'll keep it 0. The fill light, that's pretty good. But let's change the blacks to, like, we need some darker colors here. 18, there we go. The brightness we'll keep to 0. It's pretty bright. The contrast, maybe 23. So plus 23. If you just type in 23, it'll do plus 23. Clarity, we want it to be a little bit clearer, so let's just bump it up a little bit to 12. Oh yes, vibrant, we could definitely get some more color in here. Let's go to 25. And then finally, in terms of saturation, the depth of the colors, let's go to 5. Then go ahead, click Open Image. All right, now that we have done that, what we want to do is say File, Save As. Notice that this time we're going to save it as a PSD, so a Photoshop document. Save it within, please, your H drive Photoshop folder as you're used to. And let's go ahead and save that. Okay, now it's always wise to work on this Photoshop document as opposed to the JPEG document, because we don't really want to alter the JPEG in case we ever need to go back to the original. Alrighty, now you notice this is a little crooked, right? We're going to use what's called a ruler tool in order to straighten it. So this ruler tool is hidden a little bit to us. Let us go over to where the eyedropper tool is. So find your eyedropper, press and hold, and select your ruler tool. Now, with the ruler tool, it's pretty straightforward as to how you do this. You click in the wee upper edge, try to get as precise as you can, and then drag it to the upper right hand corner, and once you get it, release, and then go up to your options bar for the ruler and select and click Straighten. There we go. Now our picture's straightened. Great. Now we want to crop this as well. So what we're going to do is click on the cropping tool, and we have a very specific width that I gave you when I indicated for print we were going to need this to be 3.5 inches wide. So go ahead and type in the width box on the options bar for crop 3.5 inches or IN and 2.5 inches. Once you get that, you're actually just going to draw the crop marquee around your image. So I'm just going to grab it and drag it kitty corner. I keep dragging and dragging and dragging until it stops, and then I release it. Now I could either just grab and move this so that it covers the top, the bottom, the sides, or I could nudge this pixel by pixel with my arrow keys, such as what I'm doing now. So get the picture pretty straightened, pretty even with the white rim around it, and then go ahead and commit by pressing commit or enter. Okay, now that we're good to go on that, let's go ahead and press Control S to save our changes. Now let's go ahead and replace some of the colors in the image. We're going to use what's called the color replacement tool to paint over the girl's hat, because you know what it will do, it's going to analyze the very first color, the very first pixel that I paint over, and it only replaces pixels of a similar color. So this is why we want to use the color replacement tool. We don't have to be as terribly precise when we paint. So let's go ahead and get the zoom tool that's down here by your foreground color. Zoom in please on the girl's hat, and notice if you press and hold your mouse and you can go zoom in and out, zoom in and out. Okay, now if you use the hand next to the zoom tool, you notice you can move the picture within the Photoshop window. I'm going to go back to the zoom. Now at this time, let's select the color replacement tool. It's hidden behind our brush. So here's our brush tool. If we press and hold, we can go to color replacement tool. Alrighty, now let's look up. We're going to click the foreground color and we're going to get a green. So I want to get kind of a darker green. Say okay. Wonderful. Now I'm going to click the foreground color swatch in the tools panel, as I already did, and I want to look at the options bar. For my brush, I'm going to move it to about 15 pixels, so I'm going to type it in, and the hardness may be about 41's fine, and then of 25 is good for the spacing, and I want to make sure that the size is off and the tolerance is off on my color replacement. Now since I already chose, I'm going to click just off on my bar, the hue instead of saturation, I'm going to continue on to the next item, which is the sampling continuous. That's what I want to do. I'm going to go over to limits and I'm going to choose, instead of discontinuous or contiguous, I'm going to choose find edges. The tolerance is going to be about 32%, which is fine, and we do want to make sure the anti-alias is selected. Okay, I'm going to begin painting in the middle of the hat. I'm just going to go ahead and start. So you go ahead and do this as well. Now you're going to have to change the size of your brush eventually to get to some of the corners, such as what I just did was not good. So I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to do the best I can here. When I start to feel a little uncomfortable with my brush, I can adjust the size of it even with a mere right click and just lower the size down. So I can paint however I want. Just get rid of all of these and go ahead and continue to paint. Okay, and you're doing this too on yours, right? Yeah. There we go. I'm going to enlarge it to go a little bit faster. 1 pixel just didn't do it, but maybe 5 would be good. There we go. Okay, and I'm almost done. Okay, hopefully you're almost done as well. You probably beat me to the punch on this one, huh? Okay. Now that we have completed the painting of her hat, what I want you to do is go ahead and zoom back out. So go ahead and zoom in and hold your mouse, zoom out a bit, and you see her hat is nicely colored. Okay, now let's go ahead and save the work. File save. Let's adjust the saturation of the actual graffiti on the walls with the sponge tool. Remember, the saturation adjusts the strength or purity of the coloration. So let's go ahead and let's zoom out a little bit. Continue to do that. And I'm going to just go up to the screen and say 100% and let it go to the middle. So I clicked up here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the sponge tool. So it's hidden behind the dodge tool. So you go ahead and select the sponge tool and go up to the options bar. The first thing we're going to do is click down on the slider next to the brush size. It's going to be 150 pixels and the hardness is going to be 0. Go ahead and make those changes, then click off. Let's go ahead now and choose saturate instead of desaturate. We're trying to actually adjust the strength. The flow is going to be 40%. The flow actually determines the intensity of the saturation effect. We just didn't want it to be 100%. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to drag the sponge back and forth. Just kind of watch. See how it increases the intensity, but please stay away from the girl. I don't want you to increase the intensity of any part of the girl. Okay, do the same thing to the right side of the wall with the graffiti. And there we go. Intensity is adjusted. Go ahead and click File Save. You are done with that. Okay, next we are going to repair some of the areas with the clone tool. What this means is the clone stamp uses pixels from one area of an image, let's suppose it's over here on these bricks, and replaces those pixels to another part of the image to get rid of some of the bad spots on the bricks. Using this tool, you can not only remove the unwanted objects, but you can fill in missing areas from any photographs that you find that are damaged. You're going to restart by, first off, we're going to replace this bright spot to the right of the girl's head. So let's go ahead and zoom in there first, towards that. There we are. And now I'm going to go ahead and get the clone tool. It's the tool right on above your eraser, and choose a clone stamp. In the options bar, we always want to go to our options bar. Let's choose the size of the stamp to be about 21 and the hardness to be 0. All right, now we want to be able to see the cloning as it before we actually administer it. So we're going to say window clone source. Okay, and I'm just going to move this over here a little bit. Okay, and what we want to have to say show overlay, have the opacity at 100%, and have it clipped. Okay, now the overlay will let you see what you're cloning actually before you even do it. Now we're going to move the clone stamp right over here, just to the right of the hot spot on the wall, right here. And I'm going to hold down my Alt key and see how it looks like a target, and then I click. I just made a selection of an area. Now I'm going to go to right to the left of the girl's hat, and notice it shows me what it's going to look like before I even start, and I'm going to clone, 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 and fix. Let me try that again, see how it does. Go to the left of her, or the right of her hat rather, again. I'm not going to apply it unless it's going to look good. And I'm going to do it again and again. Now, if it gets to the point where I feel that it's not doing a good job in cloning, I can always go back to another spot in the wall and hit Alt again and select click, so that it starts to again clone over areas that I feel that perhaps it wasn't doing the best job on. Okay, we're done with the clone tool. Let's go ahead and hit File Save. Alrighty, And let's go on to now we're going to fix a few of the things with the healing brush. Go ahead and close your clone source and we'll go on. Now the next step is to clean up some of these dark spots over here. The hand tool, because I want to move the picture. Okay, and I want to get rid of, for example, the spot right here. The best way to do it really is to use perhaps your spot healing brush, because you actually don't have to select a source. It's very close to using the healing brush, but the only thing is you do not need to go through that extra step. So go and choose the spot healing brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go right over the top of this blemish, click it, it turns black, and it just, voila, it fixes it. Just like if I wanted to boop, fix a pimple on somebody's face. It not only matches the texture, the lighting, the transparency, the shading, all of that of the sampled pixel that I just clicked on, and it heals it. So unlike the clone stamp, the healing brush doesn't even require you to specify a spot like we had to with the alt click. Let's just go over here, just a few of these dimples in the wall, and let's just start to the left and just drag and drop. Notice I didn't do the best job. I don't really like that, so I'm going to hit Control Z to undo, or go into my history palette and just go up from the last one item that I did. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's go ahead onto the next thing, which is we're going to fill an area using what's called content aware. Okay, this is really cool because the content aware fill takes blending just a few steps farther, and we're going to get rid of this mark on the wall with it. So Photoshop actually is going to fill a selection with pixels that kind of match its surroundings, but applying content aware isn't like cloning, it's kind of like magic, because you're not copying any part of the image to another part. Really, it just kind of fills in based on what's around it. So it's just an amazing thing that it can do this. So we're going to remove this crack in the wall. So let's go ahead and select the quick selection tool first. So let's hold that down, choose quick selection tool, and let's go ahead and choose like maybe 3 pixels, hardness at 100%, and that should be fine. Click off. Now let's go ahead and just drag around. There we go. Just drag around the crack in the wall. Okay, that's fine. Now, if we go up to Edit, Fill, notice it says Use Content Aware. You say OK, and voila, it is done. Okay, now deselect, Control D, or select, deselect. It's the same thing. That's what I just did. Wonderful job. And it's like magic, it just does it. Okay, if you want to try one more area, maybe try over here in the left-hand corner. We'll see what it can do over here. And again, let's go ahead and say select with the quick selection tool, edit, fill, use the content aware and say OK. And it did indeed fill it according to what it noticed, but it captured a little bit of the green here. So we're going to deselect. And again, we can always use, for example, go back to our spot healing brush if we wanted to, and fix it up so it's not there anymore. Okay, now one of the final steps before we would set this for printing is applying what's called the unsharp mask filter. What this does is it's the last thing you want to do when you retouch a photo, because the unsharp mask filter is going to adjust the contrast of this kind of all the edge details, and it creates a really more focused image. So let's go ahead and say right here, let's take our zoom back to 100%, and let's choose our filter, and notice we go to sharpen, and we're going to say the unsharp mask. Alrighty, now I'm going to move this over so you can see. Notice that I can't see the girl, but if I move within the picture, you can now see her, or you can just zoom out or zoom in with the buttons that are directly beneath the picture itself. Okay, with those are zoom buttons. Alrighty, now let's do the mount slider boy, we could try maybe 70%. And the radius slider right here, this is a slider where you can adjust the radius. Let's go ahead and let's put that at the default of 1 pixel. What this really does is it determines the number of pixels surrounding the edge pixels that will affect the sharpening. So the higher the resolution of our picture, the higher the radius settings should be. So if we want to, we can actually check that before we apply this. So let's go ahead and cancel. Let's say image size, and check. Our resolution is just over 200. So let's change that to 300. And notice that because our monitor resolution is different than our image resolution, it appears larger now on our monitor. Okay, let's filter again. Filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. Let's put it at 71. Let's go ahead and grab the girl again so we can watch her. And maybe keep a threshold of about 1. I'm going to say okay. Notice the sharpness difference in my picture. The clarity is very pristine. I'm going to hit File, Save. And finally, the last thing I'm going to do is I need to save this for printing. So I need to save this as a CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. But that color mode is only good if your layers are all flattened. But you always want to maintain a PSD document that has all the layers first. Then you would do File, Save As, then flatten an image. One of the two. Okay. Now, with this, I'm going to go to check out my color mode. I'm on one layer, and I need to go to CMYK color mode. I'm going to say Images, Mode, CMYK. Yes, okay. Now I'm on, if you can tell from looking up at my toolbar, CMYK. So that tells me I'm ready for the print colors. And also, when I print, a lot of times when I send it to a printer, if I'm in InDesign, like I would be, I could just say File, Save, and just save it as a PSD. But if I need the layers, or I need it to be pristine and I have to send it out, a lot of times File, Save As, and you change it to actually what's called a TIFF, T-I-F-F, for printing. And then you would say, call it girl, say save, and say OK. Choose whether you're IBM or Macintosh. You're IBM, so say OK. And there we are. Voila! We have a fully retouched, saved, and ready for placement picture of the girl. Congratulations! You now know basic photo editing.